Alright friends, it's time to get started on our job. One of the first things we have to do is get ready to remove this door panel right here. To do this, it's going to be easiest using a plastic trim tool so you don't necessarily have to worry about damaging anything. Now the first area we're going to start is right along this panel here. I'm going to carefully get in between this area and then gently pry it off. Come right up here. There's that. We'll set this aside. The next thing that we're going to have to do is remove this area right here. Continuing with the trim tool, I'm going to carefully get underneath this and gently pry it up as well. Underneath that, you're going to find 3 wiring harnesses. Let's start disconnecting these. To disconnect it, you're going to find a little squeeze tab right where my index finger is. You can go ahead and squeeze in on that and we'll start removing it. Every time you remove an electrical connector, just take a peek at it. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion and it needs to be dealt with. That one looks good, so we'll set it aside and continue on. Now we can move along to removing the switch for the mirrors right here. To do this, I'm going to carefully use a small pocket screwdriver and I'm going to gently get in between the switch area and the panel itself and we'll gently pry it away. I'm going to do the same on the other side here. And now when we go to remove this, you're going to want to pull it out and kind of bring it down at the same time. There we are. This is the reason why we had to roll it like we did. Now we're just going to find the little button, which is located on the very bottom. We'll squeeze this, disconnect it, inspect it, put it right in there, and set it aside. Next, we're going to start removing our 2 screws that are located right inside this handle. I'll use a 7mm for that. Oops. There. Once you have both of these out right here, let's continue on down along the bottom of the door. There's two more 7mm headed screws. Once you have all of your mounting screws out, we're going to continue on by grabbing onto the door panel and we're going to gently start lifting this up. As we lift it up, we'll also start pulling it away from the door, but there is going to be some cables that run behind it that go to the handle right here. So let's just keep that in mind. Now we can see right back here we have our wiring. We'll make sure that we have that set down and away. Now to remove this cable, we're going to use some long nose pliers and I'm essentially going to try to twist the cable until I can see these 2 ears. Once I have it twisted to that point, I'll carefully go ahead and grab onto these ears, squeeze them in, and now I can pull the cable out and through. We're going to bring the metallic aspect of the cable through that little slot. And now we'll just take this and pull it right out of there and we can set our panel aside. To gain access to our mounting points for the mirror, let's go ahead and start removing this right here. Generally, I just carefully pull this away. We want to try to save this butyl tape and not tear the weather barrier. Now we can start disconnecting the wiring for it. Squeeze this tab right here, right where my thumb is. Pull it out, inspect it, set it aside. Now you're going to find 3 mounting nuts for this. There's one located up top, one right here, and then one right there. Let's use an 11mm to remove them all. For this last one, I'm going to hold onto the mirror so it can't fall on me. That off there. Grab onto the mirror, remove it from the vehicle. Okay, so now it's time to prepare our new mirror. Now to do this, you're going to want to choose one of the options that you have. You're going to notice with the mirror, it came with these 2 options right here, and of course you have the original, assuming it came off and it didn't necessarily break. The reason why we gave you options is because some people like the chrome, other people might like to have this paint match, like maybe you wanted to have this color right here, but for some reason it broke, so you can just go ahead and paint this to match, and then all you would do is just line up the tabs that are on the inside aspect with the corresponding holes on the mirror themselves. So pick whichever one you might like, and then we'll just go ahead and line it up, and then we're going to gently press it in. Alright, now we can get ready to install this mirror into the door. Let's pay attention to our studs and our wiring area here. I'm just going to go ahead and put it along the outside of the door. I'll climb up so I can make sure that I'm not going to scratch any of my paint. Slide this right into position. Now we can grab our 3 mounting nuts. We'll start each of them on and then snug them up. Now you're just going to want to make sure they're all nice and snug. You don't want your mirror vibrating while you're driving down the road. Connect in your mirror. Listen for a click, give it a tug. Now let's get this back on there as well. Just Gonna tuck this into its position. Now we'll just stick that butyl tape right back up against the door to hold it in place. All right, now it's time to install the door panel. Let's pay attention to a couple things. Along the door panel, you're going to find several of these hooks. They need to fit into the areas on the door where they belong. Also, you're going to have the area where your cable needs to be for the door handle itself. So for this, of course, you're going to want the cable that goes right into this. We'll line that up. Other than that, you have some wiring. The large amount of wiring is going to come through this area here, but then you also have this area up along the forward aspect, which is where the wiring for the mirror needs to be. With all that said, let's start putting the cable in there. Slide it right through, bring it around. Now I'm just going to bring it just like this and latch it in. Okay, now that that's secured, let's start putting in the wiring. Got that coming through. Got this one. Now we're just going to take this door panel, we're going to bring it up as high as we can. We need to slide it down, okay? So when we bring it down, we also want to be paying attention to this lock here. We're just going to line that right up with the hole in the top. Now I'm going to press this towards the door as I start bringing it down. We essentially just want to make sure all those little hooks line up with the areas on the door like I mentioned before. Now we can start screwing this in. Now let's move along to this last bolt right here. That's going to go right into this center aspect right there. So now that we have both of these started, let's just snug them up. Now we can get our mirror switch reattached. Listen for a click, give it a tug. I'm just going to slide the wire right in there. Now for this aspect, we're going to have to roll it in. So I'm going to start by pushing in the bottom aspect. And we'll just go ahead and press this in. Listen for a click, make sure it's secure. Now we can move along to the switches. Go ahead and take this, get it lined up. We can slide it right down. Now you want to pay attention to your locking tabs. That's this area here. They need to slip into the metal brackets right along there. All right, now we can get this piece on there. Pay attention to the back side. You're going to have all of these tabs. They need to fit into their corresponding holes. Just get it lined up, press it in. Make sure it's secure. Okay, now let's just test everything that we had apart just to make sure that it functions properly. Go ahead and put the key in the on position. We're going to come right up here to the mirror. I'll put it on left. We're just going to make sure that that functions as it should, which it does. Put that back in the center. Now we'll continue on to the window. Goes up. It goes down. Now let's finish off with the locks. Perfect.